Welcome to another good e-reader comparison video. My name is Marcus,
This is Peter.
and today we're going to compare the Amazon Kindle Fire versus the Kobo Vox. Before we get into showing you a 360 of what everything looks like and diving into the software side of things, let me lay down upon you, if I may, the specs. They both have 7 inches, and the Kindle Fire is actually running a Gorilla Glass display. A resolution is the same on both devices as 1024 by 600. The Kobo Vox actually uses a different type of screen than most devices do. It's designed with the same type of glass that airline pilots use in many of their instruments. You figure if you're flying above the clouds, you're going to get a lot of sun. So the Kobo Vox actually performs pretty well in direct sunlight. In rainy Vancouver at this time of year, it's hard to test this, but we shall on the next nice day. They're both running a current version of Google Android 2.3 on both devices. Things really change though when we start looking at internal memory and a CPU. The Kindle Fire is running a dual-core 1 GHz processor with 512 MB RAM, while the Kobo Vox is a woeful 800 MHz, and it also has a 512 MB of RAM. They both rely on Wi-Fi for your connection, and they both have 8 gigs of internal memory. You can increase the memory on the Kobo Vox up to 32 gigs. You can't increase the memory on the Amazon Kindle Fire because it does not have any expandable memory, although you can store a lot of things in their own cloud services. They both weigh about the same. I would say the Kobo Vox is a little bit lighter. The Kindle Fire is about 413 grams, while the Vox is 402 grams. Let's take a look at the hardware. Peter, why don't you show us exactly what these two devices bring to the table?
Alright, starting with the Kobo Vox here, and actually before I even get into this, you will notice that they look very similar right off the bat. The differences, just from looking at the fronts, is that you have some software-driven capacitive touch buttons that are not on the screen. So you get a home button, a settings button, and a back button. Moving on to the bottom, you have a micro USB slot and a 3.5mm headphone jack. Onto the left, you have your micro SD card and volume up and down. Moving to the top, you have a power button that is used to both turn the device on and off and lock the screen and unlock the screen. You have a single speaker on the top right corner. Not a fan of the single speaker, but it is in a good place. And nothing on the right.
How does the back look?
The back, you have the Kobo signature quilted back. It is nice hard rubber, but it does give you very good grip. So they've had this on the Kobo Touches and the other preceding models. Moving over to the Kindle, you have no software-driven buttons on the outside of the screen. It is all on the screen. You have no hardware buttons on the outside of the screen either. So let's move it on to the left. Don't have any buttons here. Move it on to the right. Don't have any buttons here. Move it on to the top. No buttons here. You have stereo speakers though, which I highly agree with, and they're right in a very good place. They're not muffled on the back, they're right out in the open. And on the bottom you have the only button, the power button, micro USB slot, and 3.5mm headphone jack.
Okay, so pretty well you could see the big differences is that despite the fact they're both running a current version of Android, the Kobo Vox has more of a traditional Android interface, while the Amazon Kindle Fire has a very unique one. It's very comparable with the Nook tablet in a way that they pretty well tailored their own Android experience by making their own graphical user interface, and you tap into the Amazon ecosystem. While we're on the subject of ecosystem, let's talk about what Kobo and Amazon both bring to the table. Kobo primarily just does ebooks. They have about 2.3 million ebooks, a lot of them free, but a lot of them paid as well. Amazon not only has ebooks, which one of the largest selections online, but they also can do video. So you can watch streaming media, TV shows, movies. You can both rent and own them. You can also get audiobooks. You can get music. You can get apps via their own app store, whereas Kobo, they rely on GetJar for their apps, but you can also load in other markets. We've loaded in the Amazon market and a ton of other things here. So the essence of these devices is that the Kobo Vox is an open ecosystem. So you can see here that we have the Amazon Kindle app. We also have, Gmail. We have the Nook application and a ton more. Whereas with the Amazon Kindle or Fire, you can only download apps from the App Store, but you can also load in apps directly through web pages. So if you have manual downloads for APK files, which is Android installation files, you can easily just download them right to your device and good to go. And once you do, they're here. So just to test, we installed a few here. We have Dolphin HD as well as Astro. So this is from our own Goody Reader site on some of the essential app lists. So you can get an indication that you can manually install apps on here, but it's only through web pages. So that's basically the gist of it. I like how responsive this is, going from menus, super quick. How are things with the Vox?
Not quite as quick as the Kindle Fire, although you did mention that this has a more traditional Android-esque OS screen, and the Kindle has this very nice three-dimensional kind of thing. But even with this, you see no lagging, whereas Kobo Vox, sometimes it's unresponsive. I've swiped it 4 times and it opened an app. I didn't mean it for... I'm sorry, it's... I'm trying to swipe. There you go. So you do have a little bit of trouble, and I guess you kind of have to find a clean space to swipe, or else it might think you're clicking an app. But so far with the home screen alone, it's Kindle Fire.
Yeah, so let's just check out some like the ebook experience and what you can expect here. We're loading up 2 different books here. It really doesn't matter with with the exact book, but you can get a sense on like page turn speed and different options they bring to the table. So here's the Vox loading up the book, and here it is on the Kindle Fire. You can see that the Vox really suffers from the processor. That's really it. So tapping on the middle of the screen will bring up some font changes. Here's some of the font options for the Kindle Fire. And we're going to try to open up the settings for the Kobo Vox. Okay, so you can really see that the Amazon Kindle Fire interface for the fonts, very refined. You could see that you really get that stock Android experience with changing fonts in the Kobo. And right away, look at all these options. You can change text in real time, whereas if you do it here, you don't see anything. You actually have to exit out of there. You have different color modes. You do have the same thing with the Vox. You have the day and nighttime reading, but you also have a few different other modes here to change the white to like a milky kind of color to make it easier on the eyes. Maybe not coming across on video. We also have the typeface, so you can change the fonts. The Kobo Vox also allows you to change the fonts as well. I would say as far as the interface goes and how refined it is, I really like the Fire. There's no messing around. It looks super solid. I'd say the Vox looks rather cheap.
It does. There's about half as many options as the Kindle Fire. There's no margins. There's no line spacing. You have font that Marcus mentioned. It does not change live. You have to cancel out. You have to exit out even. And just as I press this button, you can tell I'm not sure how it wants me to press it, and it's not doing it.
Would you like a mallet?
I would like a ball peen hammer, yes. I'm really not sure why it's not letting me press the set. There we go. Now get it while it's there. So yes, the display, it has night mode. Sure, when it's looks like it just wiped the screen there. I'm not sure.
I can't see any text at all.
When it works, it's a decent experience, but Yes, what I'm getting at is the Kindle is far more refined.
Yeah, in terms of like look at the options and page turn speeds are relatively about the same. I would say probably almost like the Vox has a bit of advantage, but you can see that we do have animations turned on. So you get the sort of that sliding text here, but you can kind of peek and things like that. You can't really do that with the Kobo Vox. Okay, let's exit out of here and see what else we have going on. Exit if you would. There's really no comparison with the ecosystems. I mean, the Amazon App Store just has so much there, and the level of quality control is really solid as well. Where if you look at the Amazon version, let's just call this up here. Hit the store. Oops.
All these buttons.
No, that's their bookstore. We're gonna load up Get Jar. Okay, so right away, Amazon has a lot of control over their app experience, whereas Kobo, they're pretty reliant on GetJar for all the content. So you can get the proverbial Angry Birds and things like that. But look at the layout between the two stores, and I mean, I'll ask you what seems more intuitive. I want to see what's going on here. Just scroll. I want to check out the new ones. Whereas, yeah, I mean, Peter said GetJar looks messy, and it totally does. I mean, it's not intuitive. It looks cheap. That's really how it looks.
Yes, I don't like the layout at all. They're interrupted with more, and then you have a Connect Facebook thing, and then you get more of the list, and then you have another more with a single app at the bottom. I really don't know what's going on here. It's a very messy, unorganized list of apps. Not a big fan.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really have to show you too much more. After you looked at the hardware, the ebook experience, which is the primarily reason why you're getting it, the advantage the Kobo Vox brings to the table is that it has reading life, which is an innovative way for you to be able to earn achievements and rewards, as well as monitor your reading habits, how long it takes you to read a book, ironing out averages. It also has Kobo Pulse, which allows you to check out other people reading the book, talk about the book in real time, vote up, vote down your favorite comments, and so on. So it has a cool social media element that it brings to the table that Amazon does not do. Suffice to say, the Amazon Fire brings better hardware, a better video, music, audiobook, and ebook ecosystem, as well as apps as well. Their processors dual core. They have about the same amount of RAM, but you saw how easy it was to open up menus, settings, apps, whereas on the Kobo Vox it was an exercise in patience, to say the least.
Yes, the buttons on the outside are very unresponsive. Scrolling on the inside is very unresponsive. It's got some good. I really feel that the Kobo Vox is being held back a little too much by what's under the hood, because it does have a very slow processor. It has the same amount as RAM as a lot of e-ink e-readers, and it just can't stand up to what is on it. And I feel that really holding it back. I would like to see a little bit more power on this device to really utilize all of its features, and unfortunately that's not being shown here.
So if you could recommend the Amazon Kindle Fire, the Kobo Vox, to somebody living in the U.S., what would you say?
I would say the Amazon Kindle Fire is a lot better for U.S. Residents, only because it caters to a lot of U.S. residents with the videos and the books and what have you, that they're things they don't offer internationally.
Yeah, I agree. Pretty well, if you live outside the U.S., you're pretty limited on what you can do with Amazon Kindle Fire. Currently, you can't download apps. You can't rent movies with Amazon.Prime. You could take out magazines. You could get the free ebook. You could also buy and purchase ebooks and audiobooks, but you're pretty limited. With the Kobo Vox, it's designed with international users in mind, so you can buy anything that they offer, newspapers, magazines, books, and so on from their store, and have it work work in whatever country that you're in. So if you can deal with sometimes a sluggish and unresponsive device, it makes up for it with the social media aspects and the ability to purchase content from outside the US. Whereas the Kindle Fire, if you live in the USA, you can't get really better than that. If you live outside the USA, there are ways to manually install apps on there, as well as load your own ebooks on the device through various methods and change the experience up a little bit. So we'll allow you to make the decision for yourself for a goodyreader.com comparison video on the Amazon Kindle Fire and Kobo Vox. My name is Marcus.
And this is Peter.
And everybody take care.